Hi, everybody. This is Elliot Fishman, and welcome to our latest Facebook Live. And actually, we're a good 15 seconds early, so I hope that doesn't screw anybody's schedule up. It's May 2nd, so we're in May, and weather should be getting good. It's probably a little bit better than it was last week. And of course, the 1st of May is the first Saturday in May is when the Kentucky Derby is. So I've never been to the Kentucky Derby. I've been to the Preakness, I've been to the Belmont, but I've never been to the Kentucky Derby. Anyway, so the guys told me that I should say we really like Hershey's with almonds, only 210 calories, extremely tasty. If Hershey's, I think the Hershey's is in Pennsylvania, right? It's in Hershey's, that's where it is. Hershey's, it's in Hershey's at Hershey. So if they want to help sponsor us, they can give us some free candy bars. All right, enough of that nonsense. Okay, so I mentioned today that we were going to be talking about Count Me In, and some of you have probably looked at some of the stuff we put on Count Me In. And you say, what is Count Me In? Well, I mentioned before, and I posted online, Count Me In was a very famous song in 1965 or 66 by Gary Lewis and the Playboys. The most famous song was This Diamond Ring, right? #1 song, 65 or so. Who wants to buy? Okay, get the drift. But that's not the Count Me In we want to talk about. And Count Me In, actually now, I'll just give you a little bit of background and where you can find more information. Count Me In is a program that started actually several years ago. It's a nonprofit, so just remember that. This is not a money-making opportunity. It's between the Broad Institute from MIT and Harvard, the Biden Cancer Research, Dana-Farber, and the Emerson Collective. And the Emerson Collective is a very strong foundation that is working on cancer research. Reed Jobs is the head of the healthcare division, and we spoke with Reed about that last year when he was here visiting at Hopkins. And if you go to JACR, there's an article by Reed Jobs on his talk at Hopkins, and in that JACR article, he mentions Count Me In. And I thought we would tell you a little bit about Count Me In because it's something that I think will interest all of you. And I think it's going to be very important, particularly for research. And so what's Count Me In? Okay. One of the things that we all know about is when you want to do research, you need data. The biggest problem with data is getting quality data. So for example, on our pancreatic cancer project, because of the Lustgarten Foundation, we've been able to access lots of data at Hopkins, be able to segment the data, collect lots of information. If you don't have data, if you don't have quality data with truth, there's no way you can teach computers to do AI. And so you read articles all the time. I always comment on that. People write articles, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. We don't have any data, so we can't do any of that. But if we had it, we would do it. Okay, so what do you do about that? Also, if you take a place like Hopkins, the Felix Project, we have lots of data, but all the data is from Hopkins. So there's our scanners, our protocols, it's us. Not that we're doing anything at all that's sketchy, but it's data from one site. If we want to develop an algorithm that works for every site around the world, we need different scanners, we need variations in protocol. We want to make certain that our algorithms work for everybody. Well, I don't have access to scans from Stanford or scans from Sinai Hospital in St. Louis, or Sinai Hospital in Denver, or Sinai Hospital in New York, or Sinai Hospital in Miami Beach. You get the point. Wouldn't it be wonderful when we were doing the pancreatic cancer, now that we have some really good algorithms, if we had data from everywhere, and we can look and make sure when all is said and done that we can work on any type of data. And with diseases, let's say you were doing breast cancer, and all the patients are from the Mid-Atlantic region. That may give you a lot of information, but is that really the same as patients from the West Coast or from the Northwest or from the middle of the US in Iowa? Is it all the same, or is there something different about the data? I don't know, but you need to know. And if you have unusual tumors, let's pick angiosarcoma, since the Count Me In is looking at that. It's a very rare tumor. How do you get enough cases to really understand what the tumor is, how to manage the tumor, what's the cell biology? what chemotherapy might work, what strategies might work. You need lots of information. And that's really what CalMeIn is trying to do. So what CalMeIn is, and we just started on CT is Us. You know how we started in the middle of CT is Us? We have this incredible section now on deep learning with something specific on the Felix, but everything about deep learning, all the lectures from NVIDIA, our own lectures, text, articles, pearls, you name it. Right beneath that on the front page is CalMeIn. And we link, and we're going to build it out, but we're linking right now to the information on CalMeIn, their vision, who they are, what they're doing, and why it's so important. And so when you think about it, what CalMeIn is trying to do, and they're doing 4 different tumors. The big one is breast cancer on the big volume, and the small volume rare would be angiosarcoma. And their goal is to do all tumors. What they're doing is they're gathering data. Now, how do they do it? Well, what happens is CalMeIn is you're the patient, you're the family, and you say, CalMeIn, you can have my data. You sign a release. You have to give information where you are, where the scans are, where the patient's information is, and they will collect the information. They will curate the information. They'll make sure they have all the information that's necessary, and then put that information together and then give it to researchers. They're not going to use the information for managing that patient, so your privacy is there, and they're promising you that it's not going to help you. They're not saying, well, you give us this and maybe we'll figure out something for you. They're not saying that. They're saying, we're looking to work on this disease. We can't promise you anything, but all we can promise you is that we're going to work hard to maybe make discoveries that'll be critical for you, maybe, your family, or the rest of mankind. So it's really, patients are often looking for something to do to help them in difficult periods, and they like to contribute. The same reason all of us are organ donors. You hope not to be an organ donor because you want to live forever. But God forbid something happens, you can, through being an organ donor, give life to someone else. And I think maybe that's what CalMeIn is. Can we take your information and can it help us make discovery, or help, not us, all researchers make discovery that maybe will impact on disease? And it's somewhat brilliant because we can now expand the information we have available. And that part is very, very exciting. Again, right now there's only 4 cancers, but CalMeIn would like over the next bunch of years have 100,000 patients. Now they have 5,000 or 6,000. And their 4 projects are metastatic breast cancer, esophageal and stomach cancer, and angiosarcoma, and metastatic prostate now. We're pushing, and hopefully they will be doing soon, pancreatic cancer. At this point, they're also not collecting the images. Images are hard data and everything else, but we've been big proponents as you need images. As we're radiologists, we know that you can have all the data you want, but if you don't have images, you got nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's my New York, Brooklyn accent. So you need to have images, and we've made that very clear, particularly on pancreatic cancer, and I'm sure CalMeIn will be counting on you to get images. So why am I speaking to all of us, to our audience, which are physicians, radiologists, and oncologists, and rad techs, and nurses, and other affiliated people? Because all of us have relatives, all of us have friends, but also we know the patients. Patients come to us, they ask us a lot of questions. Perhaps they'll ask you a question about CalMeIn, and you won't know what it is, and you'll say, well, sounds maybe it's sketchy. Maybe they're just trying to rip you off, like many things that go on. Or you don't know about it, and you say, well, I don't know about it, but I don't know. Well, you need to know about it, so we're telling you about it. We posted all this information from their site. We didn't rewrite anything or anything like that. I think we will take a look at whether we can use, for example, social media as a way of increasing patients' awareness and physician awareness and technologist awareness, and that can lead to more patients being willing to get involved. When you look at the site for CalMeIn and you look at the breast cancer, what's impressive is they have over 5,000 patients, but literally it goes across the map, a little bit more on the East Coast and West Coast, but it's everywhere. And that's really what you want to do. You want to get information from everybody everywhere. And so it's really a great way of doing things. And you can see by some of the people who are logging on. So first of all, John Biachino, It's Emily's 20th birthday. Happy birthday, Emily. And for Lily, who usually is, I'm sitting in her chair now, who usually sneaks out when I have to do this Facebook Live, is live and well in Poland. I'm impressed. I didn't even know they had electricity in Poland. That's amazing. They have the internet. It must be one of those Google satellites or something. Now, of course, I get a lot of nasty notes from people in Poland. Poland's a great country. But you know, it's amazing that the internet, the whole thing, who knew that Facebook is in Poland? I thought Facebook Live was in Baltimore, maybe in California, perhaps. And then Samantha's in Shetland. I think I know where Shetland is. That's like Ireland or something like that. So one of the things is, you know, if people have any questions about Count Me In or thoughts about it, it's also important to realize one of the power of the web, as you see people in Poland and Ireland and the U.S., that you can reach people. Now, Count Me In is looking only at the U.S. to start. That's hard enough at this point. But you can imagine information. People have written articles about when you're trying to get rid of diseases and it's hard to recruit patients. If you go online, you can do really well. I think Andrew Cameron from Hopkins presented a piece where trying to recruit liver donors. When you go online, you can increase the number of liver donors. I saw an article a couple of years ago on the GI manifestations from Fontaine procedures where it's really hard to get people. And they collected like a handful of people over 3 years, and they went online, and within a few months, they had like 100 people. And so one of the things we're also looking at, and it's interesting to me, is how well we can use social media for the common good. People always talk about social media for bad things, you know, whether it was what happened in New Zealand or all sorts of bad things. I'm saying to you is we want to use things like Facebook, Google, any of the analytics we do, Instagram. We want to be able to really look and see, can we use that as a way of improving what we do? We use Facebook for teaching, right? You're on Facebook, you're looking at CT as Us. About 60% of the stuff is me showing you cases and pearls and drawings and line diagrams. And some of it's on AI, things that are very important to read about in AI or in social media, or articles we talk about. And some of it, of course, is me simply putting some music up. So the thing about things like Facebook is you're able to combine the enjoyment of listening to the Beatles sing a song or listening to Taylor Swift, hey, that song is not so bad, me, or something like me, or whatever it is, but combining that with the seriousness of things. And you can see the fact that we can reach people. Now, there's a few people who signed in. I'm not sure where they're from, but their characters are surely not English. So I say hi to them. I don't want to guess the wrong country. But I think it's really an interesting way of reaching people. When you look at us and Facebook, for example, only 19% of our users are US, 81% are worldwide in about 220 countries. I think this idea of Count Me In, when we do it here, is perhaps we can reach many people, even though you're not collecting information from 220 countries, and it's only at this point the US. The thought, that idea of how do you collect information? How do you do things for the common good? David Hellman from Bayview talks about medicine for the common good. And what we're trying to say is things like Count Me In really are for the common good. The group behind it, the Emerson Collective, is not going to sell your data. They're not going to make a profit. In fact, it probably costs a fortune. I just can't imagine what it costs to collect your data. You know how difficult hospitals are, your hospital included. When someone asks for data, you tend to ignore it, or you send a little bit of information, but Count Me In needs all the information. So I'm sure it's persistency of calling and tracking down and getting information. It's not very, it's not easy. It's not easy to do. And you can see, look, we have, I'll pronounce it wrong, Winuk Sidha from India, hello. And we have Mark DePaulis, and Mark doesn't say where he's from, but I know Mark is from Boston, and Mark's a big Yankee fan. The Yankees lost the last 2 days, so I know he's not happy, and neither am I. But you could see just the ability to spread information around. So we're interested in what you think, and we're interested about, when you look at the Count Me In, it's really nicely done. We've copied their information. We've not, again, generated new information, but it's a really good story, and I think it's a very important story. And I think it's also the way, as I mentioned, AI is going to have to go. We need data. We need patients' permission, in many cases, to use their data. And CalMeIn gets permission. If you don't give permission, you don't enter CalMeIn. It's really simple. So they're not taking anything from anybody. There are, well, someone makes a comment here. UK is some sort of national data available for research, which is really good. The UK, with their health system, can do things. Now, I do know, I did read, by the way, that in the UK, reading a chest x-ray or a chest CT is 5 months behind. So it's not a perfect system. I know DeepMind, which is part of Google, is actually working with the National Health System to actually segment out like chest x-rays and CTs, normal from abnormal. So the radiologist will read the abnormals first and get to the normals eventually if they ever get to them. 5 months is a long wait. And here's Maher Chouloubi from Paris. And a good friend of mine is in Paris, Philippe Sawyer, who's one of the chairman of one of the hospitals there. So I don't know if you know Philippe. Philippe was at Hopkins probably 25 years ago or something like that with Dave Blumke and myself. And Philippe is an expert on many things, particularly liver imaging. And in those days, he was really fond of liver anatomy. And he's still fond of liver anatomy because he wants us to do something with cinematic rendering to be able to show perhaps that cinematic rendering can do a better job of being able to do segmental anatomy of the liver. That's really true. And then here's somebody from Brazil, Fernando Henrique from Brazil, and there's Paul Whitney from Ohio, and Mahir asked me which hospital. I'm embarrassed to answer the question that I forgot. There's more than one hospital in Paris. Just joking. I forgot the hospital. I'll get back to you on that because it's sitting on my desk. Philippe's also the editor of one of the big journals in Paris. It's the journal. It's in English and French, and it's the official journal of the French Radiological Society. If you look at the journal, look at the front page. It says where Philippe is. But anyway, I know I'm running out of time. If anyone has any questions, this is a really good time to ask questions because if not, you can ask me questions later on. But I think this, going back to why we did this thing, it's really good. Now, I'm looking at Instagram. The Instagram is hard to read the questions because it comes by and you can't see it. There's someone from Turkey. There's someone making the point about CTisus is a great use for residents. Keep what you're doing. Well, we're trying. But Facebook, I can see the things. And we do have more people now on Instagram. Our Instagram page now is 25,000. It's really, really well done. It's growing like literally by the hour. A lot of good cases. If you like Instagram, it's a really good way of using Instagram, I think. And we're trying to figure out what the best things to do on there. And maybe we'll put some of the CalMeIn on Instagram, though Instagram obviously is pictures. And so it's best for cases, videos, and the like. So anyway, I think I've used up my time. And I want to thank everyone for their attention. And as I said, take a look at CalMeIn. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if it's something that you'd be interested in and how it might help you, how it might help your patients, and how it might help all of our research. So with that, I thank everybody for their attention and have a great day.